Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com. Open your free account at XRPwealth589.com. XRPwealth589.com. Start getting the best night's sleep you've ever had since you've been into crypto. Why? Because you get institutional grade custody, no fee. No hidden spreads, no hidden fees. Institutional grade custody for free, and human customer service, which I'm telling you, I dare you right now, find it anywhere else. You can't. When I go into my profile, I got the picture of my broker up in the corner and a phone. I can click on that phone and call him or set an appointment to have a call. All of it. It's just incredible. You won't believe it. And the kind of confidence it gives you and that extra layer of protection, knowing that I can reach out and call and talk to a human being, I tell you, you just won't believe it. You will start getting the best night's sleep of your life. XRPwealth589.com. And here they're going to be at XRP Las Vegas too. Big presence for Caleb and Brown. 8 days left here, ladies and gentlemen. 8 days, 14 hours plus until we hit that big weekend. It's the largest conference in the world for XRP. And I can tell you, May 30th, May 31st is going to be off the chain. I just spoke to a person that is going to be participating and their team, and it's going to be big. Get your tickets. Don't miss it. It's already big right now. XRPLasVegas.com. Let's get started right here. Fidelity buys 1,790 Bitcoin worth $188 million. Let me ask a question real quick. Where do you think this is going? In the tank? I don't think so. Or how about this news? We covered this yesterday and in the past, but it's getting bigger. Robinhood is also acquiring Bitstamp, as we know, which is building a perpetual DEX on the XRP ledger to settle derivatives, which is tokenization of real-world assets, aiming to bring Wall Street on-chain and unlock a $30 trillion market. Let me ask the question again. Hey, where do you think this is going? Hong Kong passes stablecoin bill to launch licensing regime for fiat-backed stablecoin issuers, aiming to boost innovation while tightening investor protections. Everyone's doing it. Let me ask you a question. Where do you think this is going? The IMF urges the U.S. I had to put this in here. You'll know why. The IMF urges the U.S. to reduce its fiscal deficit and control its rising debt, amid, I'm going to get some flashcards after this, rising debt amid Trump's renewed tax cut push. Listen, this is tit for tat right here. Because U.S. Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, when he first became treasurer, one of the first order of business was to go out and call out the IMF. And he did it at the IIF conference. And it's remarkable to me because this is just, because Scott Bessent came out and told the IMF, you need to get your house in order and start being an unobjective and unbiased entity in monetary policy and stop trying to push these woke agendas and all this other stuff and climate agendas and things that they've gotten themselves into. And he told him that, I think his mission creep is what he had said, had got into the IMF, and they need to get back to the original mission of the IMF, which was on point. And now the IMF, taking that black eye publicly, I think decided to come out and go, you know what, won't you get your house in order? Neither one of them are wrong. And here is Secretary of Treasury telling us, the world, and I believe the IMF, don't worry about us. We're doing exactly what we're setting out to do, and we don't need a note from the IMF to get it done.
There is the growth, the potential growth of the debt, but what's more important is that we grow the economy faster. So what we've seen under the past 4 years, and what we inherited I inherited 6.7% deficit to GDP, which was the highest deficit when we were not at war, not in a recession. So we've been trying to bring down the spending, and we are going to grow the revenue side. So we are going to grow the GDP faster than the debt grows, and that will stabilize the debt to GDP, which even Secretary Yellen and I agree is the most important number.
There you have that right there. Listen, this is all coming back to what we know. We need a new system, and that new system starts with stablecoin bill. Take a listen to this. This is important. Today, big vote.
All right, Senator. Lawmakers just advanced the Genuis Act, which would legitimize the stablecoin. Senator, next up, I believe, is your legislation, which is a full regulatory overhaul of crypto. You think we're going to get to... My contact in D.C. says she thinks you might get to that vote on the full bill in the first week of June. Is that possible?
I think it could be even sooner than that. I think we have broad agreement from a policy standpoint between Democrats and Republicans. We had a good evening last night, and I think there are actually a number of other folks that aren't on the bill just yet that will become supportive of it. So I feel very good about where we're going. The momentum is very positive right now. All the feedback I've had since last night has been extremely positive. So we're going to be working at pace this week, Stuart. We might even get it done this week. That would be great if we could.
Can I ask you what the stablecoin would do for our financial system?
Well, certainly it puts our financial system and our payment system more specifically into the modern times. What we rely upon today was designed in the 70s and 80s. This is a chance to completely modernize our payment system to make sure that the innovation that's happening around the entire industry stays here in America. And importantly, Stuart, because the stablecoin is dollar denominated, that will perpetuate the dollar's position, dollar's dominance as the reserve currency of the world. And it will also increase demand for treasury bills here in America, which is a good thing as well.
Can you explain that? I need to explain that. Why would it increase demand for treasury securities, treasury bills and bonds?
Listen to this answer.
Because the stablecoin legislation requires that each dollar stablecoin be backed fully by either a dollar in cash or short-term treasuries. To do that, the stablecoin issuer has to go and purchase short-term treasuries. Already, stablecoin issuers are large owners of treasuries, and by 2030, Citi projects that stablecoin issuers will be the largest owner of U.S. treasuries in the world.
Do you envisage the day when I can go to my broker and say, right, buy me X number of stablecoin and keep it in my account?
Absolutely. You'll be able to do that almost instantaneously. And again, the payment system is there. We just need to give a legal framework for it to thrive here in America. Otherwise, we'll see what's been happening. It's going to keep moving offshore. This is a better way for us to protect consumers, and it's certainly a better way for us to make certain that America remains the hotbed of competition and innovation in this space.
It seems to me that that would be this is a big win for the crypto business, but I'm surprised to see Bitcoin and Ethereum actually losing a little ground today. But Senator, no, go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say, if you think about it, this is great for dollar dominance as well. We've seen a slight erosion, but this is going to make certain that the dollar is the currency of choice around the world, because that's where all the digital trading is going to go. And again, enhancing the demand for treasuries helps us, particularly at a time when we're trying to work this deficit down.
And that's why I played you the clip about Scott Bessent and what they're doing to spin things around, because all of this ties into tapping into our new financial system, our new stablecoin legislation, our new crypto market infrastructure bill. All of this goes hand in hand from where I'm sitting. Now, I know a lot of people don't subscribe to that, but that's how I see it. And he explained that you're talking about more people holding treasuries than ever in any other country, more private issuers holding treasuries for these stable coins. This is exactly the conversation we had a year ago, over a year ago now, with the Honorable Cristiano Carlo on stage about exactly what the point is about all of this with stable coins. This is the kind of stuff that you're going to get when you come to XRP Las Vegas. I'm encouraging you to get your ticket, let alone the relationships and people you'll meet. You won't believe it. You won't believe it. But nonetheless, let's take a little turn here. And how do you get all of that regulated capital onto the new digital on-chain economy? Because the truth is, as we're going to hear from Sergey Navrov from Chainlink, he's going to explain to you that there's non-compliant capital and compliant capital. And up until now in the digital asset space, the majority of the capital in this space has been non-compliant, especially when you're talking about stable coins and who's launching them and what's behind them and why they're always hiding that fact. So now you're talking about how do you get the traditional world, the compliant money that's locked up in the legacy system onto the new digital on-chain economy? Listen here.
And then over the last 10 years, as I've worked with both the capital markets and the DeFi community, what I've really subdivided the world is into two separate buckets. One world is what I call non-compliant capital. So pseudonymous, anonymous capital, which powers DeFi, Bitcoin purchases, cryptocurrencies, that world. That world, for me, when it crossed 500 billion, I think reached kind of an escape velocity.
Yeah.
And you're right in that a lot of our technology and work came out of that world over the last 8 years at Chainlink because it was the place that was doing things on production, right? And you have to provide value on production in order to exist if you're not a big organization that provides value in other ways, right? At the same time, as we've been working with the DeFi community in parallel, we've been working with the TradFi capital markets community. This example with JP Morgan is one good example. Another good example is our work with DTCC before on something called SmartNav, where we put data about NAV calculation on chain for tokenized funds and this stuff and many other examples. The other category is the compliant capital category that the DTCC and JP Morgan are really the top two players, I would say. Like if I had a choice of the top two players in the US economy and maybe in the global economy in relation to the amount of capital and amount of things, it would be JP Morgan and DTCC. JP Morgan's the leading US institution, and the DTCC is the leading financial market infrastructure of the world, right? Yep. And we've had some amount of work with both of them that's now public. What I've found is that the non-compliant capital, and this is why I bifurcated this way, the non-compliant capital doesn't care about compliance. So they can just do things. They can build decentralized exchanges. They can build lending markets. They can build tokenized whatever. Even stablecoins, for me, kind of fall into non-compliant capital for their first iterations because they weren't doing it in like a super compliant way. They were like in a gray area, right? Now they're becoming compliant. Compliant capital is much, much larger. So non-compliant capital takes our industry from that 500 billion to 5 or 6 or 7 or maybe 10 trillion, in my opinion, depending on how much people want to allocate to cryptocurrencies. The compliant capital takes our industry to 100 trillion plus. And so my view is that our standard needs to power the non-compliant capital use cases and the compliant ones and eventually merge them into what we call the Internet of Contracts. And in that Internet of Contracts, you will have institutions like JP Morgan, in my opinion, playing a leading role. You'll have technology providers like Fireblocks as a leading provider of a lot of the signature and custody technology and this technology that various institutions and counterparties in the compliant capital world use. You'll have technical standards like Chainlink that define how some of these transactions work. And then in my opinion, what's actually going to have to bring it all together are FMIs like the DTCC. So the DTCC for me is an absolutely critical participant for the U.S. economy and the U.S. regulatory environment and the Web3 environment to transact in a way that brings compliant capital in. Because the DTCC will help.
And there you have it. You get that. I know you do. Right? Well, let's walk through a little bit of that, right? Just very quickly, the Depository Trust Clearing Company settles and clears over 2.5 quadrillion. It takes 1,000 trillion to make 1 quadrillion, in case you didn't know. And then we know that when it comes to infrastructure, there's no competition here.
In the near future, that 100% of our assets will get digitized. So you still need to have a balance between the old and the new. You still need to risk manage that really well. And most importantly, you can't lose track of the client experience, right? So that's why the infrastructure component is really important. And that's where we're going to double down our efforts. And I have been calling on the industry, and I hope, forgive me, because I'm going to do it again now. Right? We shouldn't be competing on infrastructure. Nobody wins on infrastructure. You need scalability, you need resiliency, you need safety.
So there you have it. And that's why there is Chainlink. That's why there is Ethereum. That's why there is Solana. That's why there is Ripple. Don't believe it? Well, listen to them tell it to you.
Provider in Europe and to be able to support the MiCA rules. When MiCA went live in 2024, it was fully MiCA compliant. And it also became fully transferable on the Ethereum blockchain. Since then, it will now be available on several other blockchains, including Solana, Ripple, and Stellar. And we're looking forward to being able to use it as a means of cash and as a means of collateral using in this project.
All right, Tom, I see that the collateral movement that you just processed has already settled and our exposure is covered. That's amazing. You entered a movement on your side, and since we're using the same distributed ledger, I saw it update instantly within a matter of seconds, and my exposure is completely covered.
Joe, thanks so much. I mean, this has been so easy to do, and it's one of those things that when you think about all the time and effort we've spent in the past trying to find the right assets and to be able to deploy them and move them around and make sure that we have our assets reconciled, and to be able to do this so easily, it's just a breeze. Tom Sullivan.
It's just a breeze. Yeah, that's what's going on. And don't forget about the XRP DRs, depository receipts, created to help the DT settle the 2 quadrillion every year. So not only will they have access to real USD, they'll also have access to a security version, a wrapped security version of XRP to help settle once it becomes an eligible securities that offer ownership of digital and alternative assets. That's what you're looking at here. And this appears to me to be a product that's been created so the people inside the DTCC have something that they can have access to alternative assets like XRP, but as a security offering. That's what we're looking at here. I got to be honest. I mean, this, all of this is adding up to, like I've said, let's see what the scoreboard looks like when we get all this legislation passed. Let's find out when utility becomes the price driver of these market and all these digital assets that actually have utility, and then let's regroup after and start talking about who's who around here. Because I got news for you. I think when this legislation comes out, I think when utility becomes the price driver of this market, well, I think you're going to see a new lineup on the board when it comes to indexes. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.